Jimmy, it's the old story of a man who's kidnapped from the Shadow Mountains in California alongside his girlfriend, who laughs at a cult leader's pecker and is burned to death. He is left alive inexplicably and does a lot of drugs and kills a lot of bikers and cult people.
Wait,
That's right.
wait. Are we talking about the reason why I moved to Pittsburgh or the 2018 film Mandy starring Nicolas Cage? I'm confused. They were so similar. I don't know.
Is this a biopic?
Yeah, it is. This is
Think,
directly. This is my story.
think Nick Cage would play you in a biopic?
Maybe. I don't know.
I actually don't think it's a terrible casting.
No, I don't know.
I'm gonna be real.
I thought it was at
I think
first,
if
and I
you
was
grew
like,
the beard, I think if you grew the beard, I think you would could look like him in this movie.
yeah, I agree. Now, I think we should address the elephant in the room, and everyone, thank you for watching Psycho Gorman after the movie's not number 2,
Like
but
Gorman instead of Gorman. He's like a lawyer now.
yeah, Gorman.
Yes, Mr. Psycho Gorman.
Gorman. So Aaron and I got a little tipsy at the Lomo Lounge, and we stayed the night. So that's why you're seeing us in the same clothes. So
Yes. This happens from time to time, and thankfully, since we own the bar, we have some. We have. I was gonna say we have couches, but actually, what we have is one bed in the back, one twin size bed that we share. So we did that, and we're here back. It's after the movies 3. We're here to talk about Mandy. So what did you order, my friend, from the bar?
I have a different seltzy. I can't tell what flavor this one is.
Just it's a
spicy water.
The spicy water.
Hang on, I can do this. It's lime.
It was that hard to figure out it was lime?
It didn't taste like anything. Well, because I had the peach one before, and that like completely wiped my palate. And I put it in the same, but I put it in the same glass. So I was like, I don't know. It just tastes like.
Yeah, probably nothing. Kind of a mix of fruits and. Well, I think it's funny because I think we're going to run into is we are we're a small town bar, which means we don't have a lot of drink options often. But I think this is a great pairing because let me tell you, I just got done working in the Shadow Mountains. I'm a forester, a logger, and after a hard day of cutting trees down, I want a fine Canadian Pilsner. So I'm drinking a Labatt Blue Light tonight.
Just because you drive a Subaru Forester, that doesn't make you an actual logger, right?
I don't think that's true.
Anyways, let's get into it, baby.
Anyways, Andy, a 2018 film that, again, we mentioned this in the last episode, has recently had a little bit of a moment on Twitter because of it finally being shown on The Last Drive-In, which we were basing a lot of this first season on. Let's get this out of the way real quick. After the Movies is a brand new show that is just like At the Movies, but it happens after. It happens after, and on this one, we can say words like suck and butt, but we're talking
not
about
together.
Hey, we're talking about a movie today that does not suck butt. And so if you like this, we're going to figure out what the game plan is. But at some point, something's going behind the paywall because we need your $3
or $5.
So if you like $5, hey, maybe you had a good month. Maybe you got that promotion. Maybe you want to throw $2.
10?
Maybe.
Let's not push it. How about 5?
Let's not push it. But if you enjoy the show, your support is appreciated. And if you want to continue receiving content, if you want to continue having more Lomo content to digest, please sub to our Patreon, to our YouTube channel. At least the first season of the show is going to be free for you guys. And the goal of After the Movies is to let loose a little bit and talk about new movies, trending movies, and genre one-offs. Boy, is this a genre one-off if I've ever seen one.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just get first impressions out of the way. So I did mention at some point, I said you should watch this movie because I was surprised. I remember being like, this movie, like, this is the Cage Renaissance, and I did not expect it to be as artful as it is.
You tried so
So
many times to get me to watch this film. So like I don't know why I just didn't watch it. Usually whenever I ask you for Rex, like I usually watch them. So I'll be like, hey, like what, like what should I watch? And you'll be like, hey, watch this. I'm like, all right, cool, got it. Or I've already seen it. But Aaron asked me a lot to watch the movie Mandy, and for whatever reason, I just never did. I'd be like, hey, you got it, Rec. He'd be like, hey, did you watch Mandy? I'd be like, no. He'd be like, watch that, and then I'd be like, all right, didn't do it. And then finally, we were watching The Last Drive-In, and then boom, I was forced to watch Mandy.
yep. And do you regret it?
No, I loved it.
I'm so glad. I love this movie. I will say, watching it with someone for the first time, I was a little bit slow moving at first, a little bit slower than I remembered. So I was getting a little worried, and also the dialogue is very quiet in this film.
There was dialogue in this movie?
It's a listen. There was 2 different times I got up to get myself a drink, where I was gone for like maybe 2 minutes, and I thought that my stream had stopped because it was just silence. There is at least like a 2-minute scene of a man blowing this sacred horn. Like 1 minute and 30 seconds are just him unraveling the horn and getting it ready.
Yep.
But it is totally worth the build. And I think it's interesting even during the build. I think the visuals in this movie are unparalleled. Panos Cosmatos, the
What a name.
coolest Greek name to ever exist, directed this movie. According to Joe Bob, this was some great insight. Kind of a pastiche of all of the things he loves.
Yep.
Kind of just put into a stew and churned into a sausage that is this movie. And I think it works. I noticed some of those inspirations, the John Carpenter stuff and the Cronenberg stuff. But this is a movie that uses a lot of red lighting, a lot of weird visual filters. The title cards have their own fonts, specific fonts that are all kind of this high fantasy thing. His girlfriend does artwork for these pulp books.
It's interesting to see another Nicolas Cage movie where there is a biker trying to kill him. Earlier in season 2, when we watched Raising Arizona, we saw the origin story of Ghost Rider. So it was good.
I was gonna say, did we make that joke when you were watching it? Didn't you say something about like, is this the Raising Arizona sequel? Yeah, it's Psycho Goreman, a movie that is 80s influenced but takes place in present day. This movie, a movie that is 80s influenced that takes place in the 80s, but it doesn't feel like, not that Psycho Goreman was this, it doesn't feel like a cash in on nostalgia. It feels like really genuinely like sets the time frame for the film.
I would say that anytime you have a film that's like set in these like backwoods areas, you could assume that it's 80s or 90s. It's like, I think that's just in everybody's mind, probably like our age and up. Everybody, when they see that, that's when they think like 80s, 90s. Doesn't matter, even if like until you see an iPad or something, you are firmly planted in the 80s or 90s in any of these.
Sure,
films.
yeah. And there's other cues too. He's in his car driving back to the house, and there's a Reagan speech on the radio. Just little moments. I do like too, mentioning the influences too. He said the Friday the 13th films, and there's a part where they mention Crystal Lake, which I thought was very fun.
Let us know your thoughts on Reagan in the comments. Trickle those comments down, baby. Trickle them down.
Oh man, yeah, our Patreon is based on trickle down economics. Holy moly. Yeah. Someone got me. That was good.
Thanks.
That was real good. By the way, I hope you guys are settled in with a beverage of your own. Don't be actually in the comments. If you want to talk about Reagan, fine. Feel free. But also let us know what your drink pairing with this movie would be. And past movies, would be curious to know it.
I like the sommeliers of film. We let you know what drink you should pair with each movie.
I'm sure that Nicolas Cage loved. He seems like a White Claw kind of guy in this movie.
Yeah.
You know. Um, so this movie, as we said, is kind of these two people that are perfect for each other. They all they want is to be left alone. I get the feeling. She has her job drawing the fantasy artwork for these books. He has his job as a logger. He comes home at night. They are very clearly in love. They have this wicked cool cabin house with like a room made of windows they sleep in.
Not for me.
No, me either.
Not for me.
You know, I used to always look out my window as a kid, and my biggest fear was that like an alien was going to be looking back in the window at me, and I would just be so afraid that like various Bigfoots be able to see in my, you know,
Yeah. There's a giant window right here when I record stuff and stream, and I'm always like, put the blinds or don't want to look out the window.
And if I was in this movie, I would the blinds would come in handy because unfortunately they are the victims of a home invasion. Linus Roach plays cult member Jeremiah Sand. His last name is Sand. Jeremiah Sand.
Figured it out. Solved the case there.
Yes, he is a interesting character because I get the feeling that he's like a wannabe. But the problem is that he isn't a wannabe in the sense that he does. This is not a spoiler, and you should have watched the movie anyways, you fools. But this is like a plot point. They kill Mandy, so I don't know whether he's a wannabe or not. But he does kind of he's got that ego thing going for the cult member thing. Very wrapped up in himself. He plays Mandy some music that he recorded. She's laughing at that. She's laughing at the fact that he takes his robe off and he's got this, I mean, huge hog. That thing was at least. Let's not go into that. This is after the movies,
yes,
but there are lines.
Yes, Aaron, it was a very big penis. You're right, buddy. It was huge.
Huge. I was
huge.
Secondhand embarrassed for him. Anyways, so this cult leader sees Mandy walking into town and kidnaps her, and you know, essentially tells her that she's lucky to have been chosen by him and all this BS, and she laughs at him. They get her all messed up. They got her all messed up on drugs. They pull out a giant wasp and sting her, which is pretty wild. And she's one tough cookie, and she tells them to eat shit, and so burn her alive. And they force Nicolas Cage to watch, and thus is the genesis of Cage's rage.
The Cage
new
rage,
age, straight from the page of a new age. Fuck. All right. So yeah, and then this is just a revenge movie that is again not complicated. It's a very straightforward plot. He's just after the people that did this. He just goes up the ladder.
We can't watch complicated movies because we're dumb as hell. So
yeah, we don't understand them.
We're dumb.
I don't have
so dumb.
I don't have a desire. We're gonna go see. I don't know what we're doing next. We're actually gonna have to decide. I mean, I'll let Jimmy decide what movie we do next. But we're gonna go see something. We're gonna watch something very dumb in theaters, maybe that came out, and I bet we're both gonna walk out of it going, I don't understand why that guy was why
what?
he was the killer. What? So but what's cool about this movie, aside from the visuals, aside from the simplicity of the plot, is the fact that you are introduced to just there's a lot of things that I think are left I think it's a very good at world building, and I think it leaves things unanswered in a way that is not cheap and actually works. And the biggest example of that is this. It's funny to say it out loud. It's a mystical biker gang that is called by a sacred horn. So the cult members need someone to kidnap Mandy, and then later on, Age is fighting these people for what they did. They call into the sacred horn, and you get these bikers that you compared to the members of heavy metal, new metal band Slipknot. which I agree with.
Slipknot bikers, man. Nothing is more terrifying than Slipknot bikers, baby.
What's weird and cool about it is that they talk with these deepened voices, and you kind of don't know, are these people really like something other than human, or is it an effect of like all of the drugs these people are taking? Um, they pay them, the cult pays them in a potent goop that they ingest. That is, I don't even know what this drug would be. I'm not well researched in hard drugs in goop form, so I can't really guess what it would be, but it makes you crazy. So they pay him in the goop, and so then Nicolas Cage has to go kill a bunch of these mutant bikers, and it's so cool to me that you never actually find out what they are. I think it's actually genuinely scary because he wakes up in their house at one point, and there is a guy that's you brought this up. There's a guy that's just wet. No explanation. Why is he so wet? I don't need to know, but he's scary. And wet things are inherently scarier than dry things. You know, you're like, why is he like that? Oh, he got into the goop. So Nicolas Cage is to kill these bikers, and he's not done there. He goes, the cage rage is real. Best scene in the film, me, maybe not the best scene, but one that I think rivals all of the craziness we get, is genuinely a great acting moment from Cage. And I just want to say this publicly on the show that if you think Cage can't act, you can yourself, because what a tour de force in this film, and it's not a dialogue heavy role for him either. He says some crazy things. At one point, he grabs a biker and says, "Give me back my shirt, man!" And I don't even know what he's talking about. I don't think they took his shirt.
I didn't realize
you
that
know
people
what?
didn't like Nicolas Cage for the longest time, and I grew up like loving Nick Cage, and I was like, he's a great actor. My mom watched a bunch of his movies, and then I'm becoming an adult, and people are like shit talking him, and I'm like, they're just joking. And then I get older and older, and I'm like, ah!
Well, you know what it is. People lose their sense of magic when they grow up, and I think when you're 12 years old, I think National Treasure is the best movie you've ever seen. And then you get up, you grow up, you get a corporate job, your heart is cold as ice, and you know, if you got that kid inside you still, it's still the best movie you've ever seen.
Yeah,
You know? So
Matchstick
but
Men
there's
was
this.
great too.
Yes, yeah, I love that movie. I didn't know anybody else knew that movie existed.
I
I
have it
feel
on
like I've
DVD.
never heard somebody talk about
I have
it.
it on
That's
DVD.
we'll have to do. Maybe we'll do a Cage season.
One
Maybe we'll
one
do
viewer.
one. It's Cage.
It's Cage.
It's him. There's an amazing scene. He's coming to terms with what happened to his girlfriend. He just watched her being sacrificed in a brutal way by this cult. He goes home. There's a surreal moment where he watches the Cheddar Goblin commercial on television, which is also very funny, and a huge selling point for people in this movie. But my favorite thing is he goes into the bathroom. He sits down on the toilet, thinks for a minute. He's just screaming. He just starts screaming, 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 screaming. Then he goes to he grabs his secret vodka from under the cabinet, pours it on his wounds, and then he chugs like half of a hand, not a handle, half of like a fifth of vodka.
Holy shit, Aaron, this is a biopic. I also scream on the toilet to grab my toilet vodka, my secret vodka from the bathroom.
Toilet vodka. But it's so good. He's just losing. He's really losing his mind, and it's believable. And he loses. It is this kind of thing of almost like losing your humanity for a while. After he kills the bikers, he uh, there's just a what you could presume is cocaine or meth. Probably it's just this pile of Scarface powder on the counter, and he just takes a handful of it and just sniffs it. I mean, he's just losing his mind at the end of this movie.
Yeah,
and
not
it
a care in the
is,
world.
you know, I don't think there's a. I think that I don't wouldn't say that this is a feel good movie, but what I would say is I think for most of it, for most of the second half, I don't think there's really any time where you're like worried about his character. I think you pretty much know. Like, I don't think he gets locked up in the biker house. Other than that, though, he is sniping people off of motorcycles. He is fighting people with chainsaws and lighting cigarettes off of their decapitated flaming heads. There is just no question in my mind he is going to get what he wants by the end
Yeah,
of this movie. No, and
100%.
it's in that way it's very satisfying. Um there's a tiger.
Yep. Every good movie has a tiger, man. I'm just saying.
This is the best surprise tiger since The Hangover, I think. It's another one that does what the viewers want, I think. And it does things that the viewers want that they don't know they want. Because I will point you again to not only is the chainsaw duel sick as hell in this movie, afterwards, when that dude's head gets lopped off and is on fire, you see him pull out a cigarette, and you gotta think that everyone watching this, or most people, are just like, oh no, like, do it, do it, do it. And he does it. He lights the cigarette off that dude's head. It's so cool. And it is this again another
With
horror
his battle
movie.
axe. His battle
This,
axe. We could
he,
put.
oh my god, I forgot. That's how crazy this movie is. I forgot that he welds battle axe in the middle of this movie.
Yeah, he forged his own like two-handed battle axe, like he was going to his local D&D night.
And you have no background on him, and it works that way. It's better that way. You don't need to know. I'm glad we didn't get a sequence of like, oh, like in another life he was a welder that got fired, and then
Just
I don't want to know.
just randomly just boiling metal just being poured into the mold, and I was like, wait, what? I remember I texted you, I was like, he can do this?
It's so funny. Jess came down when I was watching this, and I'm looking at her right now because she's eating a sandwich across the table from me. She always comes down. She, without fail, we'll watch a movie that has one violent scene in it, like one like very violent scene, and she will come down when that thing happens. So she came down when I'm watching Mandy right at the moment where he crushes Jeremiah's skull.
Nice.
And I was just like, I've seen this. You may want to look away. And boy, that is just the most satisfying final kill in a movie. Is that just bare hands, just doesn't choke him, just crushes his head. You get a little bit of eyeball pop action. Whew, it is just this is the highest recommend I could give, I think. This show. I mean, if Nicolas Cage, I got a cat reaching across the screen here. Nicolas Cage walked into our bar in character, and it was last call. I would give him 2 rounds. If he told me that he just had to go through the thing that he went through, watching his girlfriend, actress Andrea Riseborough, burned alive, I'd give him 3, baby. Hanging out all night.
I would scream at you from across the bar and be like, Aaron, you can't do that. I'd walk to the door of our lounge and I'd flip the "we're closed" sign over. I'd tell everybody to hang out. Guess what? Drinks are on Lomo, baby, because this movie was so good. Drinks are on the house. Enjoy. We got you. Round on everybody.
Love it. Love it. I love them. I hate to just like sound like a broken record. I just love the movies that we've done for this show so far because they really are, I think, each one has kind of been this thing that is very difficult to compare to other things. This is granted a lot more serious than Psycho Goreman or Fried Berry, but it is every bit as good. Especially, I would say it's on par with Fried Berry, and it just depends on what kind of mood you're in. If you can be in a serious mood, and you just want to watch something that is truly like an unforgettable experience, this is the movie for you.
Out of the 3 after the movies we've done so far, this one receives my highest recommend. This is a must watch. You need to go see this movie. There's no, I feel that way about all of them. I feel like you need to see them. But this one definitely. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
if you haven't seen Mandy yet, get over there, put it on TV, and watch it.
I think this is the beginning of the Cage Renaissance. He did a horror movie called Mom and Dad after this that is much sillier, but also like equally as fun and bold. He just did a movie in the past year or so called Color Out of Space. That's another very colorful sci-fi H.P. Lovecraft kind of horror movie. And then recently he did Willy's Wonderland, which I love and would love to watch for the show at some point.
Well, Cage does a lot of roles because he loves doing like independent quote big quotes around what I call independent, but not these big blockbuster movies because it gives him more freedom and he can do more of them in a year. So that's why you constantly see him in a different role versus other actors. That's why he's been in so many movies. It's just because he can stretch his legs as an actor and have more creative control and can do more of them than just like one or two every couple of years.
Yeah, definitely. I think again, I think that he is a good actor. I think he's a good actor that we got a cat on the balcony here. I think Nicolas Cage is a good actor that takes big swings, and those swings don't always work. But my favorite movies and my favorite artists, directors, writers, whatever, are artists that take big swings. And well, damn well knowing that it's not always going to land, but I think that I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So I'd recommend the hell out of this movie. And I think it would be fun to end this episode with the little anecdote about recently Seth Rogen put out a new book where he talked about Nicolas Cage almost got the role as the villain in Green Hornet. But he had told Seth Green and Evan Goldberg that he wanted to play the role as a Jamaican. There was nothing in the script that called for this. There was no reason to think this. It's just what he wanted to do. And Seth Rogen was very nervous that he was going to show up to this dinner and just start saying things with a Jamaican accent to them. And god damn it, wouldn't you know it, that's exactly what he did. He showed up at this dinner and he started yelling in Jamaican accent to them. And they said, we're going to go in another direction. And he walked out. So, but hey, I think he got the last laugh because that movie sucked.
What's interesting for this one too is that they wanted to cast him as the cult leader in this one, but he liked his character that he ended up playing, and they didn't know. They were like, "Oh, we're not gonna get him," but they ended up pulling it through.
That was a crazy story. He told them he wanted to be the main character, and they said no. And then for months it was just not going to be, not to be. And the director had a dream. This sounds like such a yarn, but I do love that it comes together like that. The director had a dream about Nicolas Cage in the lead role, and the dream was so vivid, I guess, or so good that he called him up. And fortunately, he was able to do it. I also heard he wanted to play the role as Jamaican in this movie too. I love Red Stripe. That's a lie. I've never had Red Stripe. All right, I'm getting the wrap it up sign. I think this is the best episode yet. I don't know what you're talking about. Thank you so much for listening to After the Movies and joining us in the Lomo Lounge. Once again, please, if you have the $3 a month to spare, feel free to join our Patreon. You can watch these movies with us. We'll let you know when we're watching them. You can join us in conversation for At the Movies and After the Movies. And we got a season of this to pull out for you, but if there's something you want to see, we are always open to recommendations. So
next week,
what are we doing, Jimmy?
For After the Movies 4, we are discussing a movie that I don't know if I'm gonna like at all, but it is Chris Rock's Spiral, baby.
I was hoping you would say that because this is a movie that I've told Jimmy this. I'll say it on the podcast. I recently rewatched the Saw films. They are not good. They are what? Wait, what?
The first three are great.
You're a teenage gorehound. I'll definitely give you the first two, and I liked the third one when I was teenage gorehound.
Yeah, that's the only time I've watched them, when I was a teenager.
Okay, so I rewatched this, and I will say after the second movie, they are close to unwatchable. And I would say that my experience was so miserable that I said to myself that there was nothing they could do to make me watch another one of these movies. And then I found out that Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson were in it, and I said, "God damn it!" So we're gonna go see this movie. I don't know what's gonna happen.
We're gonna do the podcast live from the theater.
There's probably gonna be no one there. That would actually that'd be very fun. We'd get the audio would be copyright stricken immediately, but I'm excited. I haven't been to the movies in a very long time. and I think this is going to be a lot of fun. And then I think we know what's lined up after that. So I feel very good about this. Thank you guys for joining us at the Lomo Lounge. We can't wait to see you again next week. Bring your friends. Out of my bar.
It's BYOB next week too. Don't forget about it.